When I saw the credit card bill with $15,000 in expenses I hadn't made, I thought it was fraud. But when I discovered my own wife was using our money to fund her lover's business, my life turned upside down. What did I do with this betrayal? Stay until the end, because you won't believe the revenge I planned. If you enjoy family drama stories, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because today I'll tell you everything in great detail. But before I continue telling my story and how it all happened, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where you're from. My name is Ricardo, and for 12 years, I believed I had the perfect marriage. Marina and I met in college, built a life together, bought our own home, and I always felt like we were a team. I worked as an engineer for a multinational company and earned a good living, around $8,000 a month. Marina was a freelance graphic designer, but her earnings were irregular, so I always covered most of the household expenses. I never questioned her when she said she needed time to relax. After all, she always complained about stress, headaches, and the need to take care of her mental health. When she started talking about spa weekends, I actually thought it was a good idea. "It'll be good for you," I'd say, handing over my credit card without hesitation. What I didn't realize was that these therapeutic weekends were actually dates with another man. And worse, she was using our money to finance his entrepreneurial dream. For months, Marina drained our savings, maxed out 3 different credit cards, and turned our joint account into a source of funding for her lover's company. The discovery came by chance, on a Saturday afternoon that changed everything. And what I did when I discovered the truth was beyond anything she could have imagined. It all started about 8 months ago, when Marina began to become more distant. She spent hours on her phone, always with a strange smile on her face. When I asked what was going on, she'd say it was work, or that she was chatting with friends. "Are you okay?" I'd ask during dinner. "I'm fine, just a little tired," she'd reply, but I could tell something had changed. She avoided my gaze, no longer talking about our plans for the future. It was around this time that she started talking about taking better care of her mental health. "I need some time for myself," she'd say. "How about some spa weekends? It would be good to relax." At the time, I thought I was being an understanding husband by supporting this idea. Marina researched several places and always chose the most expensive ones. "This one has incredible treatments," she showed on her phone. "It costs $2,000 for the weekend, but it'll be worth it." I never questioned the prices because I trusted her completely. The first weekend was in March. She left on Friday morning all dressed up, with a small suitcase. "I'm going to completely disconnect," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "I won't even take my phone with me." I thought it was strange, but I respected it. When she returned Sunday night, she was different, more animated, more beautiful, with a sparkle in her eyes I hadn't seen in a long time. "How was it?" I asked. "Wonderful," she replied. "I feel renewed." These weekends became monthly, always the same pattern. She'd leave excited on Friday, return radiant on Sunday, and they always cost between $1,500 and $2,500. I paid the full amount without question, happy to see her well. But there were odd details I preferred to ignore. She never brought photos of the places. She never mentioned other people she'd met. And whenever I suggested accompanying her, she'd make up an excuse. "It's a women-only retreat," or "You wouldn't like it, it's too focused on meditation." I accepted it because I wanted her to be happy. If I had known what was really going on, I would have acted much sooner. The day that changed everything was a Saturday in November. Marina had left for another of her therapeutic weekends, and I was at home, organizing our financial documents. It was something I did every month, but this time I decided to check my credit card statements more closely. The first card showed normal expenses: groceries, gas stations, some online purchases. But when I opened the statement for the second card, I nearly fell out of my chair. There was a $3,200 charge from a company I'd never heard of, TechStart Solutions Consulting. I thought it was a bank error or fraud. I immediately called the card company. "Sir, this purchase was made in person, with the physical card and PIN," the attendant explained. "It was authorized by the cardholder." My heart raced. Marina was the holder of that additional card. But what company was that? Why would she make a purchase of that amount without telling me? I decided to investigate on my own. I Googled TechStart Solutions and found a simple website for a technology consulting firm. The owner was a man named Bruno Mendes, who introduced himself as a digital entrepreneur and startup consultant. His photo on the website chilled my blood. He was a handsome young man, the kind Marina always praised when we saw him on television. Expert in fundraising and digital business development, the description read. I continued to comb through the statements and discovered this wasn't the first time. In the last 6 months, there had been at least 8 transfers to this same company, totaling over $18,000. Always on weekends when Marina was at the spa. My mind began to connect the dots. The monthly weekends, the cell phone always turned off, her excitement when she returned, the exorbitant expenses I paid without question. I felt like the world had crumbled beneath my feet. 12 years of marriage, all the trust I'd had in my wife. Everything was being questioned in that moment. I knew I needed concrete proof before I could confront her. That very Saturday, I decided I needed to know the full truth before taking any action. I couldn't simply confront Marina with suspicions. I needed concrete evidence of what was happening. I started stalking Bruno Mendes's social media. His Instagram was open and full of photos of him in expensive restaurants, traveling, and driving imported cars. A typical playboy flaunting a lifestyle that clearly doesn't befit someone starting a business. One photo particularly caught my eye. Bruno at a Japanese restaurant I knew well because it was very expensive. The date of the photo coincided exactly with one of the weekends Marina was supposedly at the spa. Coincidence? I doubted it. I decided to investigate the other expenses on the statements. I discovered charges to luxury hotels, upscale restaurants, and even an expensive men's clothing store. All of this was always on Marina's spa weekends. I called one of the hotels where there were charges. I'd like to confirm a reservation in the name of Marina Silva, I said to the receptionist. Oh yes, Mrs. Silva. She always makes reservations for 2 people in the presidential suite. 2 people, presidential suite. My world completely fell apart in that moment, but I needed more evidence. I hacked Marina's computer, which she always left logged in at home, and found WhatsApp web conversations she'd forgotten to delete. The messages with Bruno were too explicit to leave any doubt. I can't wait for our weekend, one message from him read. Did you get the $2,500 for the next phase of the project? Another asked. My husband will never suspect, Marina replied. He believes everything I say. Reading that last message was like being punched in the gut. It wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation, mockery, and complete disrespect. She was laughing in my face, using my money to fund her lover and still treating me like an idiot. I spent the rest of Saturday collecting evidence, screenshots of conversations, card statements, receipts of expenses. I organized everything in a folder on my computer. When Marina returned on Sunday, I would be ready. But I also started planning my revenge. Sunday night, Marina came home with that same radiant expression as always. How was the spa, dear? I asked, trying to keep my voice normal as my heart pounded. Amazing as always, she replied, giving me a kiss on the cheek. I feel completely renewed. They gave me a tantric massage that was transformative. Tantric massage. She didn't even bother to make up convincing lies. I'm glad you're okay, I replied. Do you happen to know a company called TechStart Solutions? I saw the blood drain from her face for a split second, but Marina quickly recovered. I've never heard of it. Why? Because a $3,200 charge appeared on our card. I thought it was fraud. That's strange, she said, feigning concern. It must be the bank's mistake. I'll call tomorrow to resolve it. That night she was clingier than usual, caressing me, trying to initiate intimacy. It was guilt, I knew, but I couldn't even touch her, knowing she'd been with another man over the weekend. On Monday, Marina left early to sort out the credit card situation, but I already knew she was lying. I took advantage of her absence to continue investigating. I called other establishments where suspicious charges had been made. I confirmed reservations in her name at least 3 different hotels, always 2-person suites, always on spa weekends. When Marina returned home, she said the bank had confirmed it. It was indeed fraud, and they would refund the amount. Another blatant lie. During dinner, I tried to give her one last chance to confess. Marina, are you sure everything's okay between us? I feel like you've been distant lately. She looked me in the eye and lied without blinking. Of course it's okay, love. You're the man of my life. I'm just going through a rough patch, but these retreats are helping me a lot. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't just going to confront her with the evidence. I was going to plan something she'd never forget. All week I pretended everything was normal, but inside I was planning every detail of my revenge. Marina had deceived me for months, spent over $20,000 of our money on her lover, and still had the audacity to continue lying to my face. She deserved a lesson she would never forget. First, I hired a private investigator. I wanted photographic evidence of her betrayal. I need photos, videos, everything documented, I explained to the investigator. She's meeting him next weekend. Second, I sought out a divorce lawyer. I want to know all my rights, I said, and I want her to get out of this separation without taking anything of mine. The lawyer explained that with proof of adultery and bad faith, I could seek compensation for moral damages and still keep all the assets acquired with my income. She used the couple's resources to benefit third parties, he said. That's serious. Third, I began preparing the final blow. I decided I would expose everything at the most humiliating moment possible, in front of her entire family. Marina always talked about her mother's birthday, which was the following Saturday. A huge party with over 50 people. Parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, close friends. It's going to be beautiful, she said. My mother deserves a special party. It was the perfect setting. During the week, I acted like the most loving husband in the world. I bought Marina flowers, took her out to dinner, and complimented her hair. You look beautiful, I'd say. I'm lucky to have such a wonderful wife. She was suspicious of so much affection. What phase is this? She asked on Thursday. I'm just realizing how important you are to me, I replied. I want to value our relationship more. Marina smiled, but I saw guilt in her eyes. She was probably thinking about how she was going to tell Bruno that her idiot husband was being more romantic. On Friday, she packed her bags for another spa weekend. This time I'll stay until Monday, she said. It's a longer, more intense retreat. Perfect, I replied, kissing her on the forehead. Enjoy it, my love. When she left the house, I smiled. She had no idea what was waiting for her on Saturday. Saturday arrived, and Marina was on her intensive retreat with Bruno. But I knew exactly where she was, in a 5-star hotel downtown, spending more of our dollars on champagne and room service. Her mother's party started at 7 p.m. I arrived punctually, greeted all the family, chatted with the aunts and uncles, and played with the children. Everyone was asking for Marina. Where is our princess? Her father asked. She's on a spiritual retreat, I replied, taking care of her mental health, but she asked me to represent her here today. Around 8:30 p.m., when the party was in full swing, I asked to speak to everyone. Guys, can I have your attention for a minute? The music stopped. The conversation ceased. More than 50 people looked at me expectantly. First, I want to congratulate Mrs. Helena on her 65th birthday, I began. You've always been a second mother to me. Everyone applauded. Marina couldn't be here today because she's too busy, I continued. In fact, she's so busy she didn't even notice I found out. The mood changed instantly. People began to look at each other, confused. I grabbed my phone and tuned it into the party's sound system. I'll show you where Marina really is right now. I played a video the detective had recorded 2 hours earlier. Marina and Bruno entering the hotel hand in hand, kissing in the elevator, and entering the suite together. The silence was deafening. Donna Helena put her hand to her chest in shock. Her father turned red with rage. Marina has been lying to all of us for 8 months, I continued, my voice echoing in the room. She doesn't go to any spa. She meets with this man and uses our family's money to fund his business. I showed the card statements, the WhatsApp conversations, all the receipts. Over $20,000 was diverted from our account to fund my wife's lover. Her mother began to cry. Her siblings were furious. That can't be true, said the younger sister. Marina would never do that. Unfortunately, she would and did, I replied. For months, she laughed in my face, called me an idiot to her lover, and still had the nerve to continue lying even after I started to suspect. What happened after the revelation was chaotic. Donna Helena needed support from her daughters, as she was feeling unwell after the discovery. Her father, Jose, was so upset that he left the party saying he was going to settle the score with Marina in person. Her brothers were torn between anger at the betrayal and trying to defend their sister. There must be an explanation, said one. There is no explanation that justifies this, countered another. I let everyone process the information and said goodbye. "I'm sorry I ruined Mrs. Helena's party," I said to the birthday girl. "But you deserve to know the truth about who Marina really is." When I got home, there were already 47 messages on my phone. Marina had discovered what happened at the party and was frantic. "Are you out of your mind?" one message read. "How could you do this to my family?" Other messages were different. "Please let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. It was just a mistake." But I didn't respond to any of them. I had already taken all the necessary legal steps. Monday morning, Marina came home furious. "You destroyed my life," she screamed as soon as she walked in. "My entire family disowned me because of you." "Because of me?" I replied calmly. "I wasn't the one who cheated. I wasn't the one who lied. I wasn't the one who stole money to give to my lover." Marina tried to justify herself. "You never paid attention to me. You only thought about work. Bruno made me feel special. And for the special feelings you spent $20,000 of our money on him?" She started crying, asking for forgiveness, saying that she was going to end everything with Bruno, that she was going to go to therapy, that she would never do that again. But it was too late. I handed over the divorce papers my lawyer had prepared. "You have two options," he said. "Sign these papers agreeing to all the conditions, or we'll go to court, and you'll walk away with nothing, plus pay damages." The terms were clear. She would keep the car, which was still financed, but I would keep the house, my savings, and all my investments. Plus, she would have to fully reimburse the $20,000 she'd spent on Bruno. Marina signed, crying. Today, 6 months later, I can say it was the best decision of my life. Marina left home, moved in with a friend, and from what I heard, Bruno broke up with her when he found out she no longer had access to my money. Typical freeloader. Her family, after the initial shock, ended up supporting me. Donna Helena even calls me every now and then to ask how I'm doing. "You've always been a good son-in-law," she says. "My daughter, who didn't know how to appreciate you." I maintained my relationship with them because they were always good people, who were also deceived by Marina. As for me, I'm rebuilding my life. I've gone back to doing things I'd neglected during my marriage, met new people, and for the first time in years, I feel truly free. I've discovered that it's much better to be alone than to be with someone who betrays and disrespects you. If you're going through a similar situation, my advice is, don't ignore the signs, don't be complicit in lies, and above all, value yourself. No one deserves to be deceived, used, or humiliated within their marriage. What would you do if you discovered your partner was using your money to fund their lover's life? Tell us in the comments, and if you liked the story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more real-life accounts of family drama.